Hi guys, it's Roxanne. Today I've got beautiful Gita Rose here with us. She's from California and has been over to Hawaii to activate all of her gifts and abilities, and has had a beautiful awakening journey with loads of gifts and abilities coming through, and in particular a channeling with a ET, extraterrestrial Bella. So welcome, Gita. How are you going?
Hi, I'm doing so well. Thank you so much, Roxanne, for having me and for connecting more of us. And hello to everyone watching. And thank you so much for your presence as well. So thank you for having me, Roxanne.
So can you share with us your awakening, a little bit about your awakening story and how you came to start channeling? And yeah, can you walk us through a bit of that, please?
Sure, absolutely. So also, too, what I think is really interesting about the term of awakening, a lot of the times, and it's a sweet term as well, because we're really remembering who we are, and it's in ways can involve a little bit of unraveling and remembering, but essentially we're really relaxing into our true state and what it is that we have always been and what we are truly capable of and what our human origins may very possibly be. So I really enjoy the term of awakening, and it has many different nuances within it because we're really just coming into where we've always been and being in the dream state as much as possible, always more and more. So for me, a little bit of a backstory. I was a musical theater major. I was a performer, singer, dancer from a very young age. And my brain was trained very early on to know that everything is an experience. I, in ways, never really lost that connection from source, that knowing that yes, it may be a very intense, very contrasting play of the human experience, but it is always a play. And I always retained a knowing of the importance of imagination, and that everything happens for a reason, and that we can always extract the positive or the integrative lessons from any and all experiences. So it was very much hardwired into me as a choice, I think, from some level of my incarnation, and then also was further nurtured within the theater environment. And I was aware of elementals. I had a very deep connection with different aspects of spirituality, different beings that were more so in the angelic realm, or even different what we might label ascended masters. I was aware of a connection with Yeshua or Jesus Christ, but it was very ethereal and very, again, very like elemental, very kind of like fairy energy. And the concept of extraterrestrials was something that was not a part of my awareness. It was very much like there were blinders on. And another thing too, I often thought like, oh, that's for boys. Like I remember seeing Star Wars, I remember seeing Star Trek and different stories on like the History Channel or different things like UFOs, are they real, right? All these kind of things. And I was aware of it to an extent, but it was categorized in a way where it wasn't time for me to look at it. It was very much, again, like this kind of blinder experience. I was very much on a trajectory of musical theater. I studied in New York City at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. I was actually offered an off-Broadway show where I would play Judy Garland, which was a being that I'd always been compared to in theater. And the moment when I was offered this show right out of school with a producer was really like the first spiritual moment in the awakening sense for me, where I realized, whew, you've already played that part. That's a level of connection of your oversoul. It's time for you to play a new role and to go a different way. And I knew in that moment, even though it was very against the grain, right? Here I was being offered what I thought would have been my greatest joy. And in that moment, my greatest joy was to actually say no to that experience. And that created a whole new path of exploration for me, where I actually returned back to California and started meditating and running and building a foundation in traditional mindfulness Vipassana-based meditation. And then I met a dear girlfriend of mine whose name is Jen, and she was the first person that I had met that was openly aware of her psychic gifts, of being a clairvoyant. And I knew in that moment that we met that I needed her to tell me everything that she knew. And so she did. And she also gave me a psychic reading at another point when we connected. And she told me, you have all these extraterrestrials in your space. And I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, my space? Like, what are you talking about? She's like, in your field, like in your agreements. And I was like, okay. And extraterrestrials, you mean like aliens? Like aliens are real? And she said, well, yeah, I think they are. And a lot of other people think that they are real as well. And in that moment, again, very similar to the sensation of being in that meeting with the producer, just like something else came in. And I had an awareness, oh, of course aliens and extraterrestrials are real. And not only are they real, but it is a big part of what the modern human genome is. It came in that moment. And then flash forward to a couple of weeks later, Jen and I were spending some time sharing and connecting again, and she offered to smoke some cannabis. And up until that point, I didn't smoke cannabis because it was, well, I had previously, but in these years, I did more because it brought up levels of awareness for me that I was not prepared for. I would be like talking to God when my punk rock friends are like playing video games and listening to the Misfits. And after a little bit of a foundation of meditation, and I felt very, very safe with this individual, with Jen. And so in that moment, I was like, yeah, okay, let's go for it. So I took one pretty good hit of marijuana, and immediately I felt this huge sensation of fear, really, really deep, overwhelming fear. And I expressed this to her. I felt safe enough to share with her. And she said, okay, great. Well, would you like me to lead you through a meditation, through what's called a parts work exercise, where you can really look at the fear and identify it? And I did. And we manifested the fear as a dragon and put the dragon on stage. And I went all the way up into the catwalk of the theater, and slowly and surely in a visualization allowed myself to get closer and closer and closer to the fear that I was creating. And I got up to the lip of the stage with Jen's very compassionate, very beautiful guiding me through this. I got it to the lip of the stage, and I saw the scales of the dragon were all mirrors. And I understood in that moment, everything is a reflection, everything. And with that level of understanding, the fear changed into a type of excitement, but I had to go through it in order for it to alchemize. And then from that point, I got shot up into the catwalk of the theater where you would hang the lights. And I was in this cocoon, this just very loving, very calm cocoon. And I was aware that I was speaking, but I also was receiving a message. And up until this point, I had no awareness of vocal channeling. It was not in my mind frame at all.
Wow.
And because of being in theater, I have a level of comfortability of having like a dual mindset. Now, it's not something that you aim for, but often it can happen when you're in the 50th performance of a show and da-da-da-da, and you're doing it and you're just on autopilot and you're singing the songs, and another part of you is like, oh, I didn't eat enough today, or ooh, that boy's really cute in the second row, right? You can have this dual awareness.
Yeah.
And you go and you go, oh, I'm not present. Okay, get back in.
Yeah.
That level of that split mind frame was actually something that was very comfortable for me. So I was aware in that moment that I was speaking, and then also that there was something else that was speaking to me. And it was a very loving, energy that introduced itself as something that I would understand as extraterrestrial in origin, and that I had an agreement to do this, which is called, actually, well, they didn't say it was vocal channeling, but they said this is how we are making contact with your civilization, and you have an agreement to do this, and it's time for you to begin if you would like to begin. And they also very firmly reminded me that every moment I will always be given my innate power to choose and re-choose and re-choose this agreement, that there's the utmost power in the free will of choice, and it will come again and again in every moment. That opportunity of choice is there. And they also said there may be challenge and peaks and valleys in this experience, but we can guarantee for you that at the end of the day, you will know that magic is very real, that unconditional love is real, and you will know that what you thought to be true when you were a child in terms of imagination being the gateway to everything, you will know that that truly is the fundamental mechanics of reality. And yes, you may feel from time to time a little alienated. That pun was very much part of the original invitation, but we can guarantee you this level of observation. And so in that moment, when something is posed in that way, I'm like, oh, okay, sure, that sounds like fun. I'm down for the adventure. And it was also in ways given to me like, we have a role for you. This is a very particular play that is happening in the human experience, and we have a role for you if you'd like to play this role. And so I agreed in that moment. And then I was still channeling, and Jen was very familiar with vocal channeling and in a way knew what was happening and was able to hold space for it, and then also have a level of curiosity of asking questions and kind of seeing what else could arise from the communication.
So you were talking, as you're getting the downloaded message, you're talking it out to your girlfriend?
No, I was sharing other ideas.
Right.
It's almost like, again, this split level where I'm singing a song and then something else is coming in where I'm noticing the cute boy in the second row, right? It's a complete dual experience. So I don't remember what was being shared in that first moment, but I believe it was initial messages of the foundation of what really is still their message today, of a lot of the, basic ideas and principles that still comes through me. I believe that that's what was coming through while I was receiving a very different experience. And Jen continued to ask questions and kind of see, where else it could go while I was very much in my own reality of experience.
So amazing.
And also in ways, I think a lot of people, which has been really interesting for me, a lot of people have had this experience in terms of this very precise type of vocal channeling. There's been more and more people coming from this kind of specific lineage in a way, that they are very precise in how they operate. It's not their first rodeo in this way. They've made many different contacts and connections with many different civilizations. And this is how they do it, is through this emotional, telepathic, heart-based way. It's really just energy, information being sent. And it's through my brain, through my filter, that different precise words are then brought through. And really, that's what we're doing all the time. We're always channeling information and energy that then gets put through our filters, our belief systems. So it is amazing. It's magical. It's a miracle. And then also it's very natural. And I think as more vocal channels come online and more people share their stories and more of us are going through our awakening process, we're able to continue to hold that dual understanding of it's something that is quite mystical and magical, and then also extremely natural and our organic state of being. And so Jen was very aware of this experience and was also aware of this particular lineage. And when I came out of the altered state, she was like, okay, so channeling. That's a thing. And you might want to go and check out a channel by the name of Bashar that is brought through a gentleman by the name of Daryl Anka. Now, I will state for the record that I am in no way officially affiliated with Bashar Communications. And it has been my experience that there is a level of lineage, a level of connection, a level of family, and this story being told in specific ways. But I always like to state that I am in no way officially affiliated with their precise business and mode of operation, and everything that I share is always from my experience and my perspective. But for me, having that marker and having that idea offered by Jen, that there is something here that was very similar to this energy of Bashar, and if it excites you, you might want to go and check this out. And so I did, and it brought through a lot of emotional understanding and a deepening of the connection of the agreement. I began to receive things even deeper in my own understanding, and was then led through different exercises of how to enter into the channeling state without needing the aid, the permission slip of cannabis. And that was over 10 years ago at this point. And then I spent around, I would say, 6 to 7 years practicing, going through different meditations, learning how to do it on my own. I went through many different incarnations of different beings, different consciousnesses, different star systems. Many different things came through as I was learning to move through resistance and learning to move through my own belief systems. And it was quite some years later that I connected with the being that we know as Bella today. Yeah. And I felt excitement and the pull to go to Hawaii, and I did, and I swam with wild spinner dolphins and learned a lot from the local Hawaiian community. And basically it was a series of synchronicities of always following the joy, following that spark of inspiration in each and every breath and each and every moment, and committing to the character and to the experience of it, always without any insistence, and being in just the state of the unknown of the play of curiosity. And then always, again, being in that state of our ability to find the integrative lesson for many experiences that then, after enough of the dance and enough synchronicity and enough understanding and connection, I knew that it was time for me to step forward and start to share. And that was about 3 years ago at this point. Yeah. So it's an amazing, very natural kind of a long story. So I do my best to be concise with it.
That was beautiful, because I just love the playing around with, you know, having some weed and that just opening up so naturally. I mean, it's a plant from the earth. You know, it's in alignment with the divine because it's here grown, and then just chasing and being in that flow state to learn and feel out what was right. So well done. Awesome. Yes. So who came through? Bella came through as one of your strongest galactic team, so to speak, to work with and share intelligence and help people and help them heal and be of service. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, she is, for the most part, the main guide or counterpart that I connect with. There are, from time to time, other beings that she may facilitate. Oftentimes I think of her like a telephone operator. If almost we want to think of Ernestine from what was it? I believe it was Laughing. It's an old reference, but like one ring-a-dingy skit. But so I really do envision her as being at this like switchboard, right? So she is able to plug into other beings from time to time, and sometimes other beings will come through, but for me mainly she is my my main agreement. And the story of where she comes from is quite interesting, and again I'll share it and do my best to be brief. And I really do always like to preface that regardless of what we believe and regardless of what is quote unquote true. It's a really good story. And that is how our race learns, is through allegory and fable and morality. It's how what our individual truth is able to land with us, right? So from her perspective and from my experiences, it's very real, but I always, and she always leads with, it's how the story can align with you and choose, and how you choose to feel about it.
Yeah.
So she says that she is of the Yahyel race, which is a race that is from the what we might understand as the gray human hybrid program, or the gray agenda, that she is an aspect of our family and in a way a descendant. And there are many different types of grays, and there are many different experiences that individuals have had with grays. But in my specific encounters and in my experiences and understandings from Bella's perspective, the grays that we are speaking of are a very, very different version of humanity that essentially lost connection with their emotion, with their ability to feel, and had a very heavy reliance on technology. That then resulted in further disconnect with the planet. And the planet eventually became uninhabitable. And the then humans, or these parallel humans, moved underground and began to clone themselves even more, and eventually lost the ability to naturally procreate. And then it was deemed or allowed necessary, and in ways, aspects of our timeline of humanity agreed to volunteer for this very, very specific hybrid agenda, where this is where we get a lot of the modern stories of certain abductions, that then different genetics were donated, as well as informational and energetic contributions to create a new series of beings. So Bella is of the Yahyel race, and the being, again, that Daryl Anka channels, Bashar, is from a race that is known as the Sasani race. And again, I always really preface with, to many people, this is very real, but also it's at this point become a very interesting, wide saga, right? That we can really utilize as a type of mythology, because at the end of the day, the story is offering us to feel our emotions, right? To listen to each other and to be in deep commune and connection with planet Earth. And regardless if it's real, a figment of our imagination, if we're, wherever it's really coming from, it's not the point. The point is how we can utilize the story to really
learn. Look what's happened to her, and she shared that with you. And we're in a transitional phase on Earth right now, that we need to listen, like you said, and feel, so we don't go that way.
Yeah, and that's the gray. So again, it's there's many moving parts. It's an epic saga of many different books. So the grays are in a very different timeline, and they were perhaps the seeders with humanity that created these different hybridized beings, these different hybrid races, such as the Sasani and the Yahyel. Now they're very integrated and aligned in their own ways, and they have beautiful societies. So in a way, it's the very end of the story, or the result of these different encounters of these perhaps darker timelines coming back to us to offer us the story of why the grays happened, where they're really coming from, different ways that we can begin to process these encounters, to understand the story, to integrate our shadow. But they're coming from really very advanced, very deeply unconditionally loving societies that have wonderful understandings of science, of technology, of emotions. So it's a many cast of characters that are involved in this very specific lineage. So again, the Yahyel and the Sasani are extremely aligned beings that are also learning from us as much as we are learning from them, to be able to continue to utilize the importance of emotion, and to be able to translate to them ideas that are very obvious and very simple, and to be able to bring it through in ways that humanity will really understand, and to ride this balance of honoring our joy, following our joy, and honoring our denser emotions, and alchemizing it, and really truly becoming masters of contrast, masters of polarity and of limitation, and being able to ride this middle point. Especially right now in our timeline, we're really seeing much polarity and much difference, and we are becoming masters of walking on a razor's edge. But the more that we can relax into that reality of holding the place of polarity for all things, it expands more and more. So they're learning from us as much as we're learning from them of how they can translate these concepts in ways that really bring it to earth, pun intended. So the main teachings in this way that they offer are very applicable. And the main idea is what they call the formula, or the equation of excitement, which is to follow our joy, our passion, our heart's desire, our inspiration in each and every little moment, to the best of our ability, and really committing to it, seeing it all the way through, and always being in a state of curiosity and non-insistence. And again, knowing that there's always a reason, we can always extract a lesson. And there's lots of nuances and lots of different ideas and ways that we can investigate, in different ways that we sometimes even get caught up in not knowing what our joy is, or we are in the process of finding and refining our belief systems, right? And from their perspective, that's it. That's the whole process of knowing when we are needing to relax more, to receive more, knowing when it's applicable for us to take action, to push through beliefs, or to not. It's most of what we talk about, Bella and I, and individuals of this specific lineage. And I think a lot of channeling, a lot of information that's coming from all of these different galactic sources, really, to my understanding, they're all kind of offering the same stuff, and just different ways that we can really apply these understandings to be able to be our best version of humanity in each and every moment.
Yeah, I feel like they're here to help. Obviously, they're planted around the earth at this critical time, and learning to work with them and listen, and being still, and being in flow, and learning that the experience here is actually so grand, and it's a blessing to be here. But then being conscious of that is an even bigger gift. And yeah, it's really interesting, because we've started working with the ship and getting communication, and we're not channeling just yet. That's coming for us, but it's always here for service. The Palladians, I'm connected with some Palladians on a ship, which is really interesting. And I love it. At the start, you said, I didn't even believe in aliens or extraterrestrials, or thought they were masculine. And for me, I didn't even, before having my awakening, actually had to double check with my brother-in-law and ask, is aliens real? Completely scared, but that was just a mirror image of my emotional clearing and density within me to work through. So can you tell us, do you feel like when you're getting the channeling, Bella's energy, what does that feel like to you? Does it feel like, obviously it's a female, do you sense that she's on a ship or at a planet, or can you tell us a little bit about who she is, what she is, and where she's coming from?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. And first off, too, I think it's important to remember that we have an idea of vocal channeling, of people entering into an altered state and connecting and speaking and bringing things through. And then also, channeling is an extremely natural state. And there's many different ways that individuals are connecting to our higher selves, to our true hybrid galactic natures, and to other individuals. And really, any time that we are in that state of flow, when we're doing something we love to do, we are channeling. And what's really fun too about this idea is, even in this now, I don't know what I'm going to say to you. We're always in a state of improv, right? We're always in a state of channeling. Really, we are channeling our personalities and our characters, and not in like a negative ego way, but in the way that's our true essence. That's our natural vibration. And I loved what you said too. As long as we remain conscious, right, or in the state of awareness, in the state of appreciation, that's how I translate it, is how we're able to remember that we are on the stage of experience itself, to be able to simply enough slow down a little bit and to allow the next line, the next excitement to come through, so that we are more and more channeling ourselves. And individuals that are awakening or connecting or channeling in so many different ways, whether it's through art, through cooking, writing books, through researching different things, painting, gardening, just being in nature, talking with trees. Like, there's so many different ways that we're all embracing what it means to be a channel, because that really is our natural state of being. And there's so many different flavors. There's so many different hues and colors, such as the human, to experience.
So exciting, hey, to like learn all these different like threads. It's so beautiful to see people come into their own and just be so different to anything else. So that's really exciting for me.
It's so exciting. And it's such, we're all multidimensional, and experience and the all that is so multifaceted. And it's such a great show. It's such a beautiful orchestra. Like, we're so full of creators, or it's just like such a tasty buffet, like there's so many different analogies that.
Yeah.
But yes, and in terms of what you were saying, in my very specific modality of vocal channeling, so Bella very much presents herself as a very specific type of character in a way. She is very real, but how my brain translates it, again, is always coming from a level of storytelling. So she plays a lot with archetype, and very much likes to utilize ideas that are already rooted in story that we have of female characters, such as Mary Poppins, Maria von Trapp from The Sound of Music. Another one that she plays with a lot is kind of a more recent story, Miss Peregrine, who is from a book called Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And she has a ship of her own that she says is stationed above Haleakala on Maui. And she says it's a very large mothership. And the reason why she utilizes a lot of these female, almost like governess, nanny type characters is a part of this larger mythology again, or this larger story of our big galactic family, is there are children that are present on these ships that are from what we might define as more recent generations of these hybridization programs. And these are the children that in one timeline would be the first hybrid race, along with the Yahyel, to visit and to connect and commune with planet Earth. So this is a part of the story, and a lot of people are having beautiful connections and memories with their hybrid children in the dreams, and also many different fun cryptic synchronicities involving nature and the elementals and the hybrid children. So Bella says that she has many of these children, she's with many of these children aboard her ship, and that's why she utilizes these different archetypes of a governess in this way. And she enjoys playing with fashion. There's many different stories. I'm able to see really the entire world. That what's interesting about this connection with her is, again, it's all coming through my filtration system. Yeah. She's not necessarily sending words, pictures, ideas. She's sending an emotional, energetic transmission that then my brain, my character, the Gita that is me, is translating it in a specific way. And it's really a complete co-creation. So again, I really do feel and stress that it's coming through in ways where it's always offering the idea of story first for the individuals to pick and choose from how they will. And so, yeah, she plays with, I get ideas and understandings from her reality where she plays with fashion. She doesn't necessarily dress in space suits the way that a lot of times we see different hybrids or different space beings. She says that she has a lot of different antique clothing. She really enjoys silhouettes from the Victorian era, again, kind of playing with these different ideas of Mary Poppins kind of silhouettes. It's something that she's transmitting an idea to us, again, different things that will arise a sensory experience within us to essentially allow us to have different translations of what alien can look like. That really human is in its own right very alien. So she's playing with different ways of sending this information to us. And it's a very large ship. And for people that are curious, she has a name for the ship. She calls the ship Karen, Cairen, which is the old Irish Gaelic spelling for Karen. And she plays a lot with words. So the ship takes care of them when they are in her, the Karen, they are in the air with Karen. And also, the word cairn, which is spelt the same way, basically it's the same root, is a stone marker that is usually found on trails. So the vibration of the ship of the cairn can also be utilized as a symbol, a marker for individuals to continue to navigate themselves of their own path. The ship is, again, very, very big. She's also said in different channelings that the ship is connected to one of the ships, or is the ship that was part of the Phoenix Lights. The sighting that I believe was in 1995 or 1996. You might want to check the date on that, but it was sometime in the mid-90s. And the Yahyel have stated through many different channels that they were a part of that. Another thing that's potentially really fun for people to play with in their own imaginations or meditations is Bella has said that they have orchards on the ship, that they are able to, through different ambassadors, different beings that they've labeled precursors, are able to, and these are extraterrestrial born beings that are able to, sorry, this one piece of hair. Okay, get it right.
You look fine. You look great.
You know, and it's okay. It's like when you see like the thing and you go into the bathroom and you're like,
why didn't anyone tell me?
I know, right? So mirror, mirror. We all do it. It's okay. So she says that they have orchards, that they are able to, different representatives within their civilizations are able to touch ground at different points on planet Earth, and different various densities, depending, different versions essentially of planet Earth, but are able to harvest seeds from our planet and take it to the ship to be able to grow orchards from many different areas on planet Earth, to be able to continue their connection with Earth and with our genetics, and to be able to offer areas of exploration for the children to be able to, they still eat as well, the kids and the Yahyel eat in small amounts, but to be able to continue to ingest aspects of Gaia, of Earth. So a lot of their story, again, of their offering is very much based in a path of nature, that allows us to continue to relax into our nature rather than striving for something outside of us. So she weaves in a lot of different sharings for us in that way. So that's something that people can utilize in their imagination, that aboard the Karen, which is over Haleakala, Maui, the heart chakra of our planet, one of the major vortices, there are many different orchards, many different forests from different aspects, locations of our Earth that people can connect to in different meditations if they like.
Yeah, it's so interesting, the ship and like the size of it and what's happening on there and what races are on there. I believe that a lot of people think ETs in the mainstream are little green men, you know, walking around and coming to take you and all of this. But for me, my connection with the extraterrestrials that I'm working with feel very Nordic, blonde, humanoid, obviously very similar kind of features, but not at that, you know, and yeah, it's so interesting to hear that you're getting this as well. And now that they're bringing the farming kind of up there, so the hybrids can enjoy that and have that experience as well. With the can you give us any information around the hybrids and, you know, their existence and their goals or their purpose? Is there anything that you've got on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of echoing a bit of what you were saying is that any race that we can imagine does exist. And there's so many different programs and there's so many different experiences and many different agendas that are happening and so many different beings. And there is a level of validity in, I suppose, honoring the darker aspects of different levels of dimensional experience. And it is through that level of honoring and accepting that these are certain levels of potential truth that we're able to, in the initial experience that I had with Jen, to feel the fear and to go through it in ways that are needed for our maturing as a race. Yeah. And it's through not fearing our fear that we are able to truly alchemize it into knowing that love really is the true truth. But it's about honoring, again, all of the different things that are existing, and then also knowing that we very much have the ability to choose. That just because someone has had a particular experience, yes, we honor that, we don't deny that, we know that we've seen different beings, or we know that we've heard different stories or had different encounters, we honor that, we shine the light to that, we look into it, we alchemize it, we transmute it. And then there's always, again, that place of remembering our conscious awareness and our ability to choose what we prefer. So just echoing that a bit, because it's endless.
I was scared as at the beginning, like I had to go through that fear myself. Like every time I'd get up at the night, I'd look out the window and think, oh God, are they going to be there? But that was just a reflection of my emotional trauma to work through. And, you know, I've grown up through that and our consciousness expanded to allow and be accepting of a lot more, you know.
Absolutely. And it's, again, always going back to this, the importance of the story of things, because I really feel that through humanity's maturing and understanding that all of these things exist, what's really being offered to us is a level of shamanic experience, is a type of initiation, right? Of going through these different rites of passage in a way. And it very much follows the hero's journey, right? If we're looking at like the Joseph Campbell study, it's each and every one of us is having our own meeting with the mirror, meeting with the magical aid. Those of us that are on this path can very much resonate with these states of compression and expansion. And the more that we do it, the more we get stronger. We go through these experiences. We know our light, we know our capacity, we know our ability to hold the awareness of all things. And again, it very much feels like I don't even know if we really have an appropriate word for it. It might be something that gets developed as we continue, because it's a shaman or shamanic experience. It's not quite the right, but I think it's the best word that we have at this point. So yeah, thank you for sharing that and for holding the light of the shadow, because it's definitely a needed and necessary and beautiful part of the experience and the initiation that we're all on. And
thank
so
you.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of your question, yeah, that's a really good one. And thank you for that as well, because I think a lot of people, especially when you throw in the idea of Bella and the Yahyel and these different hybrid races being a result of this gray hybridization program, it's a very understandable question that we might jump to. Like, what do they want? Why are they here? Why are they communicating with us? And from Bella's perspective, they wouldn't be here They wouldn't have their experience without our courage, without our ability to go through, again, this alchemizing of darkness to light, without the choices and the agreements that we've made. They wouldn't have their experience. So it's a level from them of, it's not even quite so much as returning the favor. To them, it's more of just like an obvious dance, an obvious connection. We might translate it as in this way, kind of, you know, gifting back, but to them, it's more so just the synergy of love itself that's always coming back and speaking to itself. And their desire is really just to help us, to help us have in ways the type of experience that they have in our own way, of being in unity, of being connected to the planet. Again, from Bella's perspective, they have never lost connection with planet Earth. They were born into what is essentially a dream realm, or a realm that is in what they call fourth density. And it's not quite a non-physical place. It's something in between. It's a realm. It's not quite, again, there's lots of language.
I know.
It's not quite fifth density. So there's a lot of talk in the spiritual awakening, ascension process. Oh, we're moving into 5D. From Bella's perspective and model of translation, to them, the fifth dimension is the other world. So the majority of our being, the entirety of our being, is always in the spirit realm, is always in the other world. We're projecting our pinky into this physical experience. And so we are in what we might call third density, and fifth density is the other world. And Bella and the Yahyel, at least her specific branch, reside in what they refer to us as fourth density. And they never lost connection with the knowing that they are in a dream, that they are in an experience, and the knowing that they are the stars and they are nature, they are Gaia. And really, that's the only difference, really, truly. Sure, there's, you know, different levels of genetics and this and that, but really in terms of a vibrational standpoint, the only difference between us and them is they know what they know. Yeah. We're in the process of knowing it. We understand things conceptually, but we are in the process of knowing it in our bones. And so really their intention is to help us know what we know, to serve as a mirror for our higher self, to be able to, again, relax into that state, into awakening into the dream, and for us to live our own experience in a way that is similar to theirs, again, in our own way, where we are in a space of unity and a space of understanding, being able to be within free energy, within a deep connection to Gaia. And yeah, that's their main agenda in this way, is to just to offer us the ability for us to know very deeply what we know we know.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you said that, because we were having a conversation the other night about awareness, and, you know, you're going through an experience and then you move into awareness, and you know, some people see it differently in different orders, but watching, like, for example, your baby learn how to walk or grow up and talk. And, you know, once you've come through and become conscious and elevate your consciousness, you know, you see other people having an awakening, and it's like the baby learning to walk, and there's so much love from the heart. And I feel that Bella and your galactic team on the ship are in this awareness phase of, like, a mother watching her babies all grow up and learn and be beautiful, because it's such a beautiful experience going through that actual physical experience of learning and awakening, right? And and it's just so nice to see that, because there's always something more to learn and a different perspective to see. And we are, you know, coming out of our trenches, so to speak, and healing and getting more knowledge, and having these types of conversations of now looking at other people awakening, and it's beautiful, really.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much for echoing that and sharing that. And really, from their perspective, it really is quite similar to that. Or when you see a friend that is making choices and making shifts and transformations and leaps and bounds, and you just feel that just deep, earnest, like excitement and congratulations for them owning their power and knowing their uniqueness and their ability to fly and to flourish. And absolutely, that is their main intention with us, is to remind us of our innate power. And they so deeply enjoy being able to observe us utilize the information in that way. And then also what's really cool about them is they're just in such a deep state of joy and excitement and offering of this, that also, like, it really is, no skin off their back if we don't utilize the information. It's like, okay, do with it what you want. It's like, I'm still going to keep doing this. It's fun for me. I'm just, singing my song. Yeah.
And just because we've come from this 3D of density, we are like, still stuck in the thick of it. And for them, I'm feeling it's like really much in flow, and whatever happens, because they're not stuck in the physical, and they're not relying on a paycheck or getting these physical achievements. It's just what it is in the now moment. And they always know the divine will look after them no matter what. And they're just here in a dream, having an experience so like awesome to get moving up to this level and meeting that awareness. I feel I could talk about this all day. Truly, I love it.
It's wonderful, and it really is their main offering to us, and to present us with many different techniques and understandings and ways to speak to the different aspects of ourselves, so that we can always be in that flow state. That again is a channeling state. It's our natural state of being able to be in the dance of abundance, which from their translation, their definition of abundance is the ability to do what we need to do when we need to do it. And it is through many different forms of abundance, be it money or monetary abundance, gifts, synchronicity, imagination, that we're able to align with different definitions. And again, it always goes back to this idea of the equation of excitement, the process of our passion, the formula in this way that we continue to take the action, so that these different denser parts of our belief systems, our traumas, our shadows can see the reflection, to know and to retrain ourselves to go, oh, I am always supported by the divine. Oh, right. The universe is me. And God is unconditionally loving. All that is unconditionally loving. And I am always supported in whatever I truly need. And it's that refinement process, and it really builds like a muscle for us to get better and better and better and better at honoring and making the choices to then continue to get those reflections, so that again we can take these conceptual knowings into a very deep rooted inner soul, inner standing, right? It's we're all in that process in our own ways of knowing that we are fully supported. And again, there really is no difference between us and them, except we are perfectly where we need to be on that path of knowing that truth.
I've just got another question before we wrap it up, so it's not too long, but we could do this again, I'm sure. For me, I was very visual in my channeling ability, so I was getting these beings come, and for me it was very visual. And then the idea of a ship came, and entering it, and then getting shown around the ship, inside the ship for me, and utilizing healing modalities in the ship is starting to really take hold now for me. And I can see a little bit more clearer into the short-term future as to what I'm meant to be of service for, and all of that. But for you, is there do you go through that process at all with meditation and visitation in the ship, or can you share a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had many different experiences in many different realms, many different facilities. Yeah, I'll go. I haven't actually said this publicly yet, but I'm going to now. So,
that's exciting.
I have had experiences with what we might understand and classify as different MyLab experiences, or even different lower, what we might even understand as different MK Ultra experiences. So I've had a wide gamut of dark experiences and all the way up to very, very light-based experiences. And in these darker experiences, it was through, again, what we were speaking of before, allowing myself to go so deeply into the sensation of fear and being able to alchemize it, that essentially there are fractures. There's different places within our being that is fractured. And in my personal experience, I was able to go so deeply into these fractured places that I went out the other side and was able to create different types of portals, essentially, that opened me up to be able to connect with very light-based beings. But I had to go through the experience. And I often, in personal conversations, or I do talk about these experiences that I've had when I have private sessions with people, I often relate to it in terms of Harry Potter, when Harry Potter was facing the Dementors and had to experience the fear. Because Lupin actually says to Harry, "Oh, how wise of you, Harry, that you are afraid of the Dementors. That would infer that what you really are fear is fear itself. So how very wise of you." So in these experiences, I learned to be able to draw from my own power, to draw from love, to draw from different agreements that I've had, to essentially build my light, to, in the Harry Potter stories, to create what is called a Patronus, which is a light form that basically repels these experiences. And for me, in my own journey, was able to essentially create portals where I was able to very swiftly remove myself from these different experiences. And that then laid a foundation for me to remember different experiences with the Greys that can be a little odd, a little uncomfortable, a little bizarre, but compared to these very dark experiences, are really kind of as uncomfortable as going to a gynecologist. And once we understand the story in terms of who the Greys are and what it is we're interfacing with, that we are really in different ways looking at our own denial. We're looking at aspects of our own soul that we're not brave enough to look into themselves. Because really, in a lot of the Grey incarnations, these different timelines, they're aspects of our oversoul or aspects even of ourselves. And so once I understood that part of the story, I was then able to have experiences with the Greys where I knew I was just looking into a mirror of myself. And these were, again, these darker experiences were in different facilities. The Grey experiences are aboard ships that are then also sometimes creating a dimensional blend also in my home, in my room. And again, we were meant to be brief, but this is a whole kind of long explanation. But it is important, I feel, for me to share that in terms of the Grey experiences, a lot of these experiences aren't happening anymore in our current timeline. And what it is that we are remembering are things that have happened in a past. And because of individuals like Bella or Bashar or these different entities from the hybridization lineage coming forward to us and giving us this story, we are actually able to then have a different vibration in the present that then actually aligns us with a different version of a past. So we have an idea in our linear experience that our past is creating the present. But really, according to the observation from the hybrids, it's not happening that way because it's all just the one moment. So we are in this now aligning with different versions of a past. And it is our frequency in the now that then creates a different story. And because we have that understanding, we are then able to shift frames. I've also then had many experiences where I have been aboard hybrid crafts and different Pleiadian crafts. I've been able to explore the larger galactic family in many different ways. And this, again, is kind of moving through different steps and stages of it. And It didn't always happen in a linear way. There were many different experiences that I literally had to kind of like graph and map out through my story. And in the galactic family experiences, in terms of the hybrids, they are yeah, a lot of different technologies that I have witnessed as well, in terms of light and sound activation. A lot of understandings come through in terms of how to continue to apply the formula. Again, it's always really rooted in these very applicable lessons, so that when I truly come into my form, you know, as my earth human self, how am I able to really continue to be of service and to be the best human that I can be? And one other thing that I do want to share as well, again, I know we're probably getting a little long, but it's all right. I feel that some people sometimes have question. I know this was a really big question that I had, in terms of what is physically happening to me with these gray scenarios and these different detainments or experiences. Like, where is my body physically going? Like, have I physically been aboard a craft? And it created, and sometimes, a lot of anxiety and questioning and disconnect within me. And then I had a realization at some point a few years ago, in terms of the nature of reality, that really it's just the one moment, right? It's the one point that is being viewed from infinite facets, from infinite frames. And this version of me right here is a completely different version of me than this version. And yes, there are many different things happening within my neurons, within my biology, to create this shift. And then also what's happening from a consciousness level, right? Because everything that we are experiencing is our own consciousness manifested, right?
Yeah.
We are in our consciousness. We are in our spirits, right? Not the other way around. What is happening is our consciousness is focusing on a frame that's already in existence. So I'm here, and I'm here. I'm 7 years old. I'm asleep in my bed and I'm 20. I'm on a gray ship and I'm 17. I'm visiting a Yahyel ship and I'm 37. And what's happening is the consciousness, when especially we are in dream states, or we are in these meditative, or when different beings are offering the meeting in this way, our consciousness is choosing to focus on one frame, and then we are solidifying that, and there very much is an agreement in this way to be able to have these more physical encounters. And for me, again, these different ideas of all of these different beings and all these different races and all these different agendas, how I interpret it, it is a story, it is a permission slip, it's a tool for us to be able to more so understand the nature of reality, of what it is that we are really creating, what it is that is actually in us. So just for individuals listening that may have some level of confusion in terms of what's happening, that gave me a sense of peace, in terms of like, oh, it's all happening right now. Like everything is here and now. And it is, in ways, it's kind of like, it does like make your head spin, you know? Yes. Again, it's a level of something that you're like, oh, I think I understood what she's saying. But it's a sensory feeling again, right? It is something that gives us the experience of possibility, of expansiveness, right? And it's that seed of the emotion that then we are able to utilize to find the beliefs that we most prefer to continue this transformation process of what it means to be human. So
that was deep.
That explanation. Yeah, but
it was good though, because it's like a holographic, you know, our consciousness is a hologram, and looking at it all from a different perspective in the one now moment. But our 3D human dense bodies find that hard to understand, but that's the evolution coming, and the consciousness and the frequency, and we'll more and more be able to get our consciousness around it as we grow, right? So
And that's all part of the process that comes with taking action, with utilizing the symbols, with utilizing the story, utilizing the translation in whatever way resonates with us, to be able to just take the next action, the next action, the next action, and always being in that state of curiosity and looking for the positive benefit. And it is an after effect, completely 100%, that we will get what we need. We will receive the reflections that we need to clear out different beliefs. We will then absolutely, as we continue that process of the exploration, of the excitement, of the passion, that is the journey that then aligns us to know it in our consciousness.
And just relax, enjoy
Yes.
the ride, and take the hands off the wheel, and just know that it's all good, because you're going, it's already done, you know. And I think it's really hard to get to that point of just relaxing and letting it just all go, whatever happens, because of our density, you know. So if you feel like you're in that place, just remember, relax. Everything's going to be fine. The show will go on no matter what.
It does. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. That was awesome intel. You went deep, and it was so good, because, you know, getting that little push and expansion always is amazing. So we can all help each other and share and be of service. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was really sweet connecting with you. And I always remind myself just to breathe, right?
Yeah.
And that's the big point into being able to relax and find that balance of receiving and taking action, right? It is that interesting tightrope that we're always on, and we know in each and every moment what we need to do, and that knowing comes from that relaxation. So thank you for echoing that.
So how can everyone find you if they would like a channel or connect with you to share your information?
Yeah, thank you so much. So my website is gitarose.com. I am also at the moment fairly active on Instagram, which is Rose Gita Rose. That's the handle on Instagram. I'm also fairly active on Facebook, Gita Rose on Facebook. And then I have a YouTube channel as well that is Gita Rose on YouTube. But for booking sessions and looking at upcoming events and things like that, gitarose.com.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.